So we're going to introduce our type 1 as striving to feel perfect. Sometimes these types are called the perfectionist, the reformer. Their leadership style, according to the awareness to action methodology, is called the administrator. And Mario Sikora, who is the founder, CEO of Awareness to Action, he will say, we want these people in our life. We want our pilots striving to feel perfect. We want our, being on an operating bed. We want that surgeon striving to feel perfect, right? So there are specific situations where this is going to be maybe more important than others, but having this energy on a team can be such a benefit, such a strength. Our ones strive to feel perfect by improving themselves. So they may look to feel perfect. Myself, I want to improve myself. I want to improve my team, others around me. I want to help them strive to be their very best, improve the systems, our organization. And then it can even go, I want to help, my community be a better place. I want to help the world be a better place. So they are incredible at having a vision. It can be very inspiring about having this idealistic vision of what they could be, their team could be, the world could be, and they have the ability to see all the little parts, all the little steps that are going to go into that in order to make that a vision of improvement actually possible. There's some of us I'll say, as a type 7, sometimes I get these big ideas and I have a vision too. But I may sometimes, not always, but maybe sometimes it might not come as natural to me to see, okay, step by step, this is what we need to do. It's just kind of, let's jump in and kind of figure it out along the way. So 7s can be really good at having that vision, but then also taking us step by step and creating the procedure. Our type 1s tend to really value structure, fairness, and doing things the right way. And that would be something interesting to talk to the one in your life, or something to reflect on. If you are a type 1, where do you get the right way from? Is it your policy at work? Is there values? Is there, what is that right way? How do you know what the right way is? So that could be something. Their strengths, they tend to be incredibly organized. Now, this doesn't mean, though, that they are perfect, neat-free, organized in every area of their life. When we go through the workshop, we have a myths and misconceptions slide for each of the types, just to call out a couple of misconceptions about ones in this particular case, and that they might have something real, like their file cabinet might be organized at work, but then their closet at home may not be at all organized. So just be careful. And also, I can be organized. I'm not a type 1. We can all be organized. So just be careful. We're talking about behaviors, and I do think that each type has tendencies. There are common behaviors for each of the type that can help us recognize what type we are. But at the end of the day, it's less about the behavior and more about that motive, that core logic that is influencing our thinking that then influences our behaviors. So the behavior can show up a little bit. There can be some commonalities, but just be careful especially if you're in the beginning of the typing process, and not everyone is going to behave the same. Okay. Not every type 1 is going to behave the same. So just kind of hold that loosely, but it can give us some clues. It can give us some data points, and we can put those together once we have that. They tend to be very principled. They're not going to be easily swayed if they believe, right and wrong, good or bad, ethical, unethical. They're probably not going to get talked into doing something that they don't believe in that is right, that it's the right way. And then they do have a strength of being a little bit more detail oriented. They have, one of their superpowers is around precision. Again, what a great quality for a pilot. What a great quality for your surgeon. And what a great quality on some of our teams. We absolutely need that. Now, we talk about strengths and overused strengths, because at the end of the day, It's the same energy that is fueling the strengths, that is fueling the quote unquote weaknesses or opportunities for growth. And so it really is, hey, I'm just overusing the strength. It is a strength and I'm just overdoing it. I'm overdoing it in this situation and for this person. And so what that looks like for our type 1, striving to feel perfect, gets overused. Perfectionism. Maybe waiting to turn something in, waiting to say something, waiting to do something until it is absolutely perfect. So watch out for that. Watch out for black and white thinking. Again, we talked about they are very principled. They have a very clear kind of guiding North Star, right or wrong, right? This is the way that we should do it. And that is wonderful. And there will be moments where some ability to kind of live and move in the gray, to allow context, not just black or white thinking, to influence your decision or how you might respond to something. And then they can get into micromanaging a little bit because I know the right way. It has to be perfect. And so I'm going to stand over your shoulder and make sure you do it step by step, the right way. And so sometimes on the receiving end of that, it can feel like micromanaging. Now at work, you can see this person setting high standards. They're going to spot errors quickly, and they're going to want fairness. This is somebody who tends to be very comfortable and willing, putting their own needs and wants to the side and doing what is best, what is right for the group, what is fair for the other person. So most of the time that is their goal. And again, what a great quality in a teammate. As a leader, we talked about their leadership style is known as the administrator. This is somebody who is going to have high standards for their team, and that can be incredibly inspiring. They're going to set that bar, and a lot of times we rise to that expectation. So that can be a really great quality in a leader. They will model integrity. They will have a strong sense of responsibility for you as their teammate or the team member that they're leading, to the organization, to the work that you all are doing. And then they are going to hold themselves accountable. You better bet they're absolutely going to hold themselves accountable, and they're going to hold you accountable as well. They're going to hold their teammates accountable as well. They sometimes people will experience them as a little harsh, as a little critical, micromanaging we talked about. And then I always say, yeah, that doesn't feel good. And there's maybe some conversations that need to be had if it's causing friction, if it's causing you to not be able to collaborate as well, communicate as well. Might be a conversation there. But that, or I should say, and that type 1 is also giving themselves that same criticism, a lot of times even harsher talks. And our type 1, we all have an inner critic in us. That inner critic for the type 1 is so super loud and has a tendency to be so super mean. And that's kind of the stereotype. After going to therapy, working on yourself, learning, as we grow and gain wisdom, hopefully that volume, that harshness will get dialed down a little bit, but that is one of the unique indicators of our type 1s as well. Now, at work, there's going to be some things that get on all of our nerves. Our pet peeves, we have them, and they're going to be different. We're going to have specific ones that just bother us regardless of our type, just the fact that we are who we are. So make sure you understand what those are, make sure you understand your preferences. But to give you some ideas, as a type 1, they hate sloppiness. They do not like when you miss details, when you miss deadlines, when you break the rules, not being responsible, not holding yourself accountable, making excuses. What I hear from type 1s is that, listen, do I want my team to make a mistake? No, I do not. But I'm realistic. Like, I know that people are going to make mistakes. But what really bothers me, what really is under that pet peeve is when A, you don't admit to it, you don't take responsibility for it, and B, when it keeps happening over and over and you don't learn from it. So it's less about, oh, it bothers me when you make a mistake. Sure, maybe a little bit, but it's more about how you handle that mistake. Preferences. They love it when the expectations are clearly outlined. What others expect of them, and then what they can expect from others, from their role. They want those details. Fairness, we talked about, very important. Injustices, just having justice, very, very important to most ones. Having order, having clear policies, procedures, everybody understanding the rules, routine, complying with that routine, having discipline to carry through even when you don't feel like it, all creates that sense of order, and that is really important to our type 1s. And then they want to see that follow through. And we talked about how they can be a visionary, and they also know what it's going to take to get from the starting line to the finish line, and they're going to have a plan for it. Now, when you are giving feedback to a type 1, or I would say that as a type 1, this could also be something that you keep in mind. Make sure that feedback, frame the feedback in such a way that it is really focused on improvement and standards. So what is the standard that the type 1 might have missed if you have some constructive criticism for them? It's not just because you feel this way, because this is how it looks. It's like, no, what's the specific thing? What's the specific standard, the policy, the rule? Where did I fall short here? I want to understand what that measurement is, and then where I fell within that. And then making sure that you're not making it personal, because they've already beat themselves up so much. They've already made it personal on themselves if this is something that you're having to address because of a mistake or a missed deadline or whatever it might be. And so they're really going to appreciate feedback that is focused on the problem and not them, which who doesn't, right? Who doesn't? And then as a 1, just kind of keeping that in mind as well as you give feedback. Now, we have talked before about our instinctual biases and how they can absolutely flavor each type, so that almost there's 3 different type 1s almost, which makes the typing process just a little more tricky. But I think so rich because it reflects the complexity of humans. So I just want to touch on this. This might be in a fun future episode, but I want to touch on this. As a reminder, our preserving instinctual biases is focused on ensuring that they and the people on their team that they care about have the resources that they need. So at home, that might be sufficient food and shelter. At work, that might mean sufficient budget, sufficient computers, staffing, whatever it is, to sustain their life, the work they need to do, and make it comfortable. They tend to be in touch with needs related to health and wellness. And to this preserving instinctual bias, traditions are really important. So when we have a preserving type 1, they are going to be a little bit more of that rule follower. Because as I said, that description, it does remind me a little bit of 1. Sometimes it reminds me a little bit of 6s. And so when you have the 1 and the preserving instinctual bias, you have probably a really kind of textbook type 1. So they are going to be that rule follower, focused on efficiency, focused on doing things the right way. Now, as a reminder, Our navigators, regardless of the type, but just in general, the navigating instinctual bias is really focused on the inner workings of a group. They want to understand the dynamics, the status, who's in it, who's in charge, who's really in charge. They have an ability to understand and pick up on those kind of dynamics, the chemistry of the team. Relationships are really important to this type. They want to understand where they fit. They don't necessarily need to be in charge. They just kind of want to understand, how do I fit into the group? I don't have to be at the top, but I do want to know where I fit in here. They take in information that may be useful later, making connections, thinking about those sort of things. And they maybe won't share as much about themselves as much as they are going to want to take in information about others. So when you overlap a navigating one, you have somebody who is really values and is focused on the fairness of the group, understanding, making the group, striving to feel perfect inside a group dynamic. They tend to have a really strong moral compass as our navigating ones. They want to do, right by the people in the group. Now, our transmitting ones, and as a quick refresher, our transmitters are those that are focused on showing their charm, their charisma. They're okay tooting their own horn and talking about their accomplishments. They want to leave a legacy and an impression on the world. They look to get attention, and they do what Awareness to Action calls broadcasting. So they'll kind of put out a big signal, and then once they get the attention of somebody, they go into that narrow casting and focus on having that intense connection, and then they'll pull back. So there's that, and then they're going to be a little bit more risk tolerant with pushing things forward, having maybe a little bit more big energy in the way that they move through the world. So that sounds a little different, right? Than somebody who might be a preserving one. You can already start to see, wow, a transmitting one. Yep. All three of these are going to be striving to feel perfect, but when you overlap transmitting with striving to feel perfect, you get that crusader. You get that reformer. This is the Captain America type one. This is probably the Steve Jobs kind of type of energy. I want to leave a dent in the universe. They say Steve Jobs is a type 2, or a type 4, but he has this I want to leave a dent in the universe, and I want to do it to make the world a better place. I want to leave a big impact because I believe I can make things better. So there's definitely going to be some differences between how these three show up. And this is important to dig more into if you are struggling between, am I a 1 or am I an 8? Maybe it might be worth exploring what a transmitting one looks like, because there could be some similarities into your behavior. And again, it's going to come down to that core logic, that core motive, the thing that influences your thinking, that influences your behavior, which in this case for the one is striving to feel perfect. Sometimes people will say, oh, I do all these things, but I don't really identify with striving to feel perfect. Well, maybe explore, what perfect means to you. And also, that may not be your type, right? I can see myself in, when we look at behaviors, I can see myself in a couple different types, and I can check the box on a lot of the common behaviors that we talk about for each of those types. But when we get to that core logic, yeah, that just doesn't resonate as much as the type I am. And so it will continue to go back to striving to feel whatever it is, in this case, connected. Or perfect. Oh my goodness. Perfect. So what are some things you could do if you are a type 1, and if you are not a type 1, but work with this type 1, what's something you can do? So I got a quick experiment for you for each of these. So if you happen to be a type 1, before you start giving feedback, and this isn't going to come natural, most likely, or if it does, you've probably done a lot a lot of work. Start with what is working well. Your team member is probably expecting you to tell them all the things they're doing wrong, all the mistakes they made, all the ways that they could be better. And by all means, you can get to that. But in this case, we don't want to dilute the feedback with something like the sandwich method and make it even more unclear. But it can go a long way if you just start or end at some point. Also make time for the things that are going well. Train your eye to notice strengths of that team member, of your team, not just the errors, which is what our type 1s tend to go to first. Now, if you are working with a type 1, when presenting an idea to them, make sure that you explain the structure of that new idea, that new plan, what the plan would be to actually make it happen, to bring it to life. What are some of the resources that might be needed? What's the process, that step-by-step process, even if it's just high level, that's going to be needed to bring that to life. And that will mean so much to our type 1s, and it will show that you've thought the details through, and they will tell you typically that is a really great way to build credibility and trust with them. It's anybody can throw out an exciting idea, but if you're able to show just a little bit more that you've thought about it a little bit more, that's going to mean a lot to your type 1 teammate, potentially your type 1 manager, depending on where you are on that. So as a reminder, we have type 1s striving to feel perfect. And if that doesn't resonate, then you may not be a type 1. So I just had a leadership team map review where we had a handful of leaders on the team, and all of them had type 1 towards the top of their results, initial assessment results, which is something that we have seen before. This is not a rare thing. This will come up. And that tells me that this team is probably highly functioning. There's a lot of order. Expectations are clear. People get things done. People know what needs to be done. There is a high standard. Their work is high quality. And something to reflect on, to consider, is, are we making time to celebrate all this hard work, all these things that we're succeeding in, bringing in some of that growth arrow over there at the type 1, striving to feel excited, which tends to be the type that our type 1s neglect the most, because that feels chaotic. That doesn't feel at all like striving to feel perfect. That feels a little reckless. That feels a little uncertain, undisciplined. And, again, when you have it dialed in though, we don't want our 1s to act like 7s necessarily, but what can you pull in from the strengths of a 7? Their ability to kind of go with the flow, the spontaneity, plans change, they're okay with it. Their ability to appreciate and celebrate the hard work, and to have a little fun and bring some humor and bring some joy. So sometimes when we have a strong type 1 leadership team, feedback from the team will be like, I love how much we accomplish. We make things happen. However, I would love for us to celebrate more. That's been a common piece of feedback from a couple different teams. And so that might be something that as a type 1 leader, you look at, and maybe you're already doing it. Maybe, it doesn't make sense in every situation, but just that's one thing to kind of reflect on. And then the other thing our type 1s can look at is, what sort of qualities, strengths can I pull from that type 4 arrow to enhance my working style, my leadership style as a 1. And our 4s tend to be really great at understanding human emotions, extending empathy, allowing some of that human experience to influence their decision making, so that context. And whereas a type 1 has a little bit more of that black and white thinking, let's just put our head down and work, if you can infuse some of that human element. We're not robots. We're going to have hard days. People are going to make mistakes because of certain things going on in their life, or just because we're humans. Fours tend to be really great at understanding those emotions, the human experience. They can be incredibly creative. So allowing that task oriented energy that you have. And my cat is biting me again. If you're watching the video, you can see that. But allowing, your focus on tasks to also, are there opportunities to pull in a little creativity? Are there opportunities to pull in a little fun to the structure and the plan that you have? And so those are things that we get more into in our leadership coaching sessions. Sometimes they're individual, sometimes they're small group. If that is something your leadership team is interested in, let us know. And then we talk about, here's what it means to be a type 1, and then here's what it means here's some opportunities for growth for our type 1s. Here's how those working dynamics might play out with your 2s on your team, with the 5s on your team, with the 9s on your team. And so these are the sort of topics we cover and the type of conversations that we have also inside of our workshop. So if this is something you're interested in bringing to your team, potentially your conference event, other type of event, obviously I would love to chat a little bit about what that might look like, to see if one of our facilitators here at Enneagram MBA might be a good fit for that. And you can learn all about our workshop options and speaking opportunities over at enneagrammba.com. With that, I am so glad that you're here. I'm looking forward to kicking this series off with you, and I will see you in the next one, where we're going to get into our type 2s, striving to feel connected. So with that, I'll see you in the next one.